The Australian Ghost Whisperer with Caterina and James Jennings. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Australian Ghost Whisperer. Hey Caterina.
Hi, James, and hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back indeed, and hope everyone is well. Thanks for tuning in or listening. And we've got an interesting one for you today. So, obviously, families can be very complicated.
Mm.
Anyone who is part of a family, which is everyone, everyone's part of a family, knows that you can have issues, right? Like there can be arguments, there can be disagreements. It's just an unfortunate fact of life that these things happen. And a lot of the time, these things get worse when someone passes away. There can be arguments over wills, inheritances. There can be unresolved issues with the person who's passed away, and the people who are left behind can feel resentful or unhappy. And Katerina, you are in the unique position where you see people here on Earth, the people who are left behind who are unhappy or are dealing with that conflict, but you can also tune in to the people on the other side. So you're getting both sides of the argument, so to speak. So I know you have experienced a lot of this in your career. Can you talk me through a bit about how you've experienced these scenarios in your job?
Mm. It's a huge one, actually. I probably have, on a regular basis, quite a few people who come, who want to connect with me over inheritances that have been left behind. And what happens is, when obviously these clients come to me, they're quite upset because they don't agree with perhaps what's been left behind in the will, especially when it comes to parents. And I've noticed that a lot of ethnic parents tend to leave everything to the son and less to the daughters. So there's those types of scenarios. Or there's the scenario where they feel, that perhaps their parents or one of the parents or both of the parents were manipulated by one of the siblings behind their back and kind of got them to change the will at the last minute. So there's all these types of discussions and all these types of disagreements and betrayals that go on because, they feel like, okay, my parents have passed and they've left behind this mess and the siblings are all fighting over what everybody should get or shouldn't get. And so, it's a really difficult one because, of course, they're like, well, can you tap into mum, dad, the person's part? What do they think? And sometimes, there's all kinds. Sometimes the people on the other side, the people that passed away, say the parents, will just keep it simple. They might feel as though they kind of have regretted some of those decisions, like especially the one where they tend to leave everything to the son, when clearly perhaps the daughters have done so much for the parents and sat with them through their sicknesses and were there to the very end where the sons weren't. And so, unfortunately, again, they they come through and they regret it, and there's a great deal of sadness. But it's like you can't go to court and say, "Mum and Dad now of the other side regret it," because they'll be just laughed out of court. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a very common one. There's also the one where the parents on the other side are just very insistent. No, this is how I want it. I'm sorry that my daughter, son, whoever is upset. We just want this is how we want it. And so that it's it's a very intense subject.
Mm.
So many emotions come up for people, so much anger. So much anger over it. So, unfortunately, I think, what do they say? Weddings and funerals bring out the worst in people. Well, especially when I think it comes to money, that the monetary subject where people feel, I did so much for my parents and, this is all I got. And so they go to court and there's all this arguing and it does upset the parents on the other side. So that's one scenario.
Mm.
There's also sometimes a scenario, where a person has passed away and given very specific instructions. This is how I would like my funeral to be, my burial to be, uh, you know, and and somebody changes it, they don't respect that and they do their own version of it. They go, oh no, I think this will be nicer for that person. That can also be quite upsetting for the person who's passed away, because especially people who have spent time in hospice and have had time to really think about, you know, their funeral and how they would like their last moments, you know,
Mm.
that last gathering to be. And then when that's disrespected also, that can make the person on the other side quite upset also, because it's a very personal thing, you know. And I think that a lot of people, most people, you know, I'd say at least what 80% of the population have already planned their funeral and have already given specific instructions. So therefore, when that plan doesn't go according, then that can really upset the person on the other side also.
Right, right. And you've had the people on the other side appear to you previously and express their disapproval or disappointment?
Sadly, yes, yes, I have. I have had a situation like that where that person has said to me, "This is not what I wanted, you know, and this is not the fiasco that I wanted." And it's like, I'm
Mm,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, look, there's, you know, obviously that they're in a place of love and light and healing, and of course they're going to get over it, you know, as time passes, even though there's no timing on the other side. But what I've realized is that when a person passes away, they tend to hang around at least until their funeral. I feel like they're always so much more present at their funerals. You know, they kind of are there until that last goodbye, until that kind of
Right.
spiritual, because it is a bit of a spiritual, um, oh, what's the word? Sorry, I'm having a mental moment.
Like a ceremony or?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was having a dementia moment. Yeah, this it is like it is a spiritual ceremony. It doesn't matter whether it's Catholic
Mm,
or Buddhist or whatever it is. It's those last is a spiritual moment of their farewell to the physical life that they have just experienced. So therefore, in my experience, they do tend to kind of hang around a little bit until that spiritual ceremony is over and done with, and then they kind of prepare themselves to move into the spiritual realms and go into the realm that they feel is you know right for them.
mm,
And so this is the time where, you know, if wishes are not respected or things have been changed around, they can get quite upset, because it's, you
mm.
know, it's like, yeah, I think it's like, imagine you're planning your wedding day and then someone comes along and says, no, you're not going to wear that dress. You know what? You're going to wear this dress. You
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotions, a lot of love, and a lot of, you know, passions that people want to be able to represent themselves on in the very last kind of appearance in their physical life, which is the funeral.
Yeah.
And they want to represent themselves as they choose and what makes them feel comfortable. And I think that it needs to be respected, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And have you had instances where, say, someone's come to see you and they're like, I don't know what's happened. This has happened. I don't understand. And then the person on the other side, you've tapped into them and and the person on the other side has revealed a secret or revealed what's really happened. Like, for instance, well, actually, your sister went and did this behind your back. And then,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, have you had secrets revealed?
Yeah, they're really hard ones, those types of readings, because then the person's losing their shit, literally. Like they might be, oh, you know, the mum might come through or whoever's passed through and go, yeah, you know, your sister, blah, blah, blah. She kind of was telling me all the time that I needed to do this and or sign those papers, and I didn't know, and I signed them. And it's like, oh my God. So of course the physical client just really losing their shit again. You know, you cannot take this to court. You can't
Uh,
prove this, which is a real shame, really.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it's a really difficult subject. And I feel that it's so important, I feel like, especially when it comes to elderly parents before they pass away, as they're getting towards that time where they're on. And sometimes it's really hard to talk to your parents about, but to make sure that they're very clear about whatever it is they're leaving behind or how they wish their funeral to be. Or I think it's really important if people can resolve a lot of this before that passing away, because then it's clearly a little bit too late.
Yeah,
And then there's all these big dramas in courts. Like, oh my gosh, over the years of doing this work, I have had thousands of people go battle it out in court. And even though there's probably nothing much to win, but it's the principle of, I'm not going to let my brother or my sister get away with this. So
mm,
a lot of unrest too for the people on the other side that are kind of watching their kids, literally, killing each other. So it is a painful process for the people that have passed also. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it really is. And you know
Yeah,
what?
well, we're all interconnected.
Yep, yep. And it's, look, without going into too personal details, I know of a scenario that's exactly what you've just described, where,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell.
Well, I won't name names, but
No.
yeah, one of the children had way more access to the parent, as in
Mm,
lived near or with the parent, and the other one lived a long way away, and the one that lived near the parent worked on that parent over a prolonged period of time to kind of brainwash them and change their mind. And then what do you know? The will gets changed unexpectedly, even though it had been decided it'd be a 50-50 split. And then suddenly the will is changed, and it suddenly becomes way more favorable to the child who was there in the presence of the parent, and the other one misses out on everything, and then nothing can be done about it because it's just, and I do believe that the parent who passed away did express some regret from the other side, that that's how things went down. They didn't mean it to happen that way, but the sad thing is, I think that some people take advantage of people in their later years and
oh, yes.
see it as an opportunity to manipulate them. And that person doesn't actually see the truth until they pass away and they get a clearer picture.
Mhm.
It's pretty
It's
nasty.
it's it's sad, isn't it?
It
So
is. It's
sad.
really sad. Well, it's high level betrayal, really. It's high level betrayal, and it leaves people heartbroken. It leaves people feeling like, yeah, betrayed. But like you said, it's a shame, we can't implement Ghost Court. I think Ghost Court would be a good TV show, Kat. I would watch Ghost Court. I think that's a good idea. We should patent that. Ghost Court is a good idea.
I think so. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, I'm going to tell you a personal story that happened to me many, many, many years ago. My beautiful grandfather on my father's side of the family, and I didn't know. He came to me in my dreams and he said, I'm so upset that your dad, which is his son, obviously, has he sold his part. So my grandfather left like a nice house in Italy
Hmm.
for all of his kids, and they all got a share of his home. It was a big house, and it was like for them to go and have, a holiday. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful position in Calabria, and it overlooked the ocean. It was just divine.
Sounds lovely.
And so he left it to his kids and, for them to enjoy, go for holidays, stay at the beach. And for us, obviously, from Australia, that we could go there and have somewhere to stay if we went to Italy for a holiday. Anyway, at this time, my dad had gone to Italy. He was in Italy at the time of this dream, and he sold his share to another brother.
Mm.
And so I didn't know any of this. And so I had this dream, and my grandfather came to me and he said, I'm so upset that he sold this share to the other brother, because he said, I wanted, like, for me, for me, my brothers, to be able to have somewhere where we could go and remember him and
Mm,
enjoy. This is what he desired. Instead, my father sold it.
mm,
So I was devastated even at the news when my grandfather told me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's just terrible. I was
yeah.
really upset because it was a beautiful place. We used to visit when we were young. You know, my parents took us to Italy often because all the family were there. So I remembered this home. It was just glorious.
Mm,
When my dad came back from Italy, he didn't say anything. And I said, you know, I dreamt of nonno, the Italian grandfather's nonno. And he was really upset that you sold our part of that house to your other brother. Well, my father went white, you know, he just looked at
mm,
me like I literally had seen a ghost. And he's like, how do you know? And I said, well, nonno told me. And my father was always a bit, you know, about my gift. I don't think he really had, wanted to kind of really get it too much.
right.
And I could just see the terror in his face of what he'd done. It was too late. You can't reverse it.
Mm. So that meant that the brother he sold his part to what had more share in the house,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and what happened? Do they keep it or do they get rid of
of
it?
course. Yeah, that was it. We could never really, it was not ever ours to say, I'm going to go to Italy next year and I've got somewhere to stay. That was finished and done deal. It was, gosh, it was over, I reckon now maybe eh, probably 20 years ago. Yeah.
That is such a
So
shame.
we would have had this place to go and, we would have had our share there. So that was the end of that, really.
What a shocker. That's
It
awful.
is.
But
Yeah.
it just goes to prove once again, you can't get anything past Caterina Legato.
I don't think, yeah, and I don't think somehow, even for people who are not mediums as such, I do feel that I feel somehow whether, they're coming to you through your dreams or you're just going to get that feeling or,
Mm,
that your loved one on the other side might be upset about something.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, they'll find ways to communicate to you. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people have experiences of that where loved ones have, returned in dreams and whatnot. Um,
yeah.
I remember my grandmother showed up in a few of my dreams after she passed away several years ago. Yeah, so they find a way to come back and let you know things, don't they?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because it's important for them. It's when you write out a will, you've taken the time to think about it, and there's a lot of emotions connected to that.
Mm,
And then when those things are disrespected or um, then yeah, it can be a little bit disturbing for the person who, on the other side, who went to the trouble to organize things, and therefore it affects them. Of course, they will move through it. I'm not saying they're going to be permanently stuck in this place of be feeling upset, because when you move into the spirit realms, you're able to process those emotions and heal all those wounds and traumas that are a result of a physical time in this crazy planet. So you do get to obviously work through it.
yeah,
But like I said, for those first few months, first year, I think it can be quite raw.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Well, I guess the moral of the story then is, if you have family issues, you best work them out before people pass away, and also, don't do anything shady because it doesn't mean you're going to get away with it.
And that is true too. I think people who have done stuff like that to their siblings and robbed them of an inheritance or things like that, I think, again, I always believe that what we do here matters. So your actions, you will have to face that. If not in this lifetime, you will have to face it in the afterlife, because you're not going to have that physical body to hide behind. Your conscious is going to be fully lit up like fireworks on New Year's Eve,
Mm,
and you're just going to be seeing it and feeling it, and it's not pretty.
yeah.
You're going to feel the pain you've caused. You're going to feel it just as intensely as that other person you've hurt in the same way.
Yeah, it's kind of like enforced empathy, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
you're,
there's nowhere to hide. When you cross over, there's nowhere to hide. There's no place of denial.
yeah,
Because if you try to deny, you're just going to slip into those lower realms and you don't want to go down there.
mm,
So you have to be open and receptive to
mm,
all of those, perhaps what you might see as mistakes or things that you've done, and step into that loving space and begin to try and heal and transmute it. But there's also a lot of regret that then you have to work through. And again, I've seen that with people who've passed away, where they're like, they so regret a decision or something that they did to hurt someone. And it's like, I hear this like, if only I could come back and undo that. If only I could, tell them how sorry I am.
yeah,
But it's too late, isn't it? And that's the thing. You don't want to die and leave behind a string of things that you're going to regret later. It's so important to do the work on yourself and try and heal everything as much as you can and take responsibility for all of your actions and decisions that you have obviously orchestrated in this lifetime, so that you don't have such a difficult time when you do finally pass away and go to the other side, where everything is going to be so lit up in your face. There's going to be nowhere to hide. And you've got to then go with all this regret and feel that regret.
yeah. Well, look, that's a good note to end on, Kat, which is work on yourself, heal the wounds, because on the other side, it's too late. It's too late to reverse it. So may as well start the work now and save yourself the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that wonderful insight again, Caterina, and great to chat as always. We will be back again soon with more episodes. We might get out and about again, go visit some locations. We know you guys like that. So we have a few other haunted places and a few more true crime episodes coming up as well, Caterina. So more to look forward to.
Wonderful. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
To gain access to private spiritual development classes, guided meditations, please visit www.patreon, that's patreon.com/the Australian Ghost Whisperer.